Hey, what up, everybody? This is Spam, and I'm here to present my latest run of Fire Emblem Engage, which is a 217 with Saline carry under the draft race rule set. I'm here with two co-hosts, JoshuaDragonPillow and Smithsville. Say hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
We were all on a team together when we strategized this entire game and wrote a lot of the strats that you're going to see here today. Of course, we never named our Aleer, but there's a first time for everything.
Was there anything notable about the rules that we should talk about before we get deep into the run?
Yeah, this is a good time to do that. So on the bottom of your screen, you see two rows of units. The first row says spam, the second row says free. All the units in free are available for every player in a draft race to use for every chapter. This includes Aleer, the protagonist of the game, who I am creating right here, Seadoll, the dancer, and two trainee units that each come from their own prologues in the early game. The row above them, spam, lists the units that I drafted in a recent draft race of this game, and those are the ones that I was using when I recorded this this demo run here. Other units that are not available on the draft board but are still available in the game include Vander, who I can use for the first two chapters, and that's it. In theory, it's supposedly faster to use direct controls. I'm bad at it though, and I think that the mistakes that I would make by switching to using direct controls would lose me more time than just using cursor controls here. I don't know if anyone is...
Is there any other thing that was interesting about the options?
We turned off the animations, we set the game speed to fast, and we turned off most of the guide windows, but the game does not actually allow us to turn off all of the guide windows. But the options are, of course, the most important part of prologue. Now we're on to chapter 1. Chapter 1, condensed...
I was going to say early... Oh, sorry.
I've condensed it to just moving Aleer one tile, and that's it. And I like to move him to this plains tile so that he's surrounded by other plains tiles, so that he has 98% hit on these enemies instead of having to hit them through the forest terrain. You go ahead, Smith.
I was going to say, what's a... How does the early game usually go this chapter?
Well, I've seen it go in other ways where Aleer can go in the bush so that you can dodge some enemies. I've seen Vander take the other bush so that the enemies won't be able to take it from you. But I think not moving Vander, not selecting him, and having to dismiss the guide window that pops up saves maybe like a handful of seconds. We unlock the ability to engage here when Marth joins our team. Every unit in this game can be deployed with a emblem ring. These emblem rings feature protagonists from past Fire Emblem games, and it gives them certain abilities on the field. And through use of these emblem rings, you can sort of create standardized strategies for much of the game.
That sure was a level up spam. Like, that was all the relevant stats.
It sure was. Strength and speed are really nice to have on Aleer this early on, particularly strength. With 2 points of strength, you can kill just about everyone in Chapter 3, I believe. And Chapter 3 is always going to be an Aleer solo, so that's always relevant. I changed this strat up a little bit. We had Vander going for that archer before. I also trade Alir this vulnerary because in the race where I drafted this team, he did run out of vulneraries in Chapter 3. So I give him a spare one. Having Vander, then Alir attack that guy, kills him without taking any damage on Alir, and then Alir can always one round this archer. And you skip having to actually select Fram at all, which is nice because it skips a guide window. Coming up here next is what I think might be a Cool Nate special. I don't exactly know how it works, but I know that I saw him do it and it worked, and then I tried the same thing and it still worked. So if we have Vander advance one past that bush that's next to this enemy that Alir just killed, then Lumera attacks him on turn 1 instead of turn 2. And this looks bad because she's going to attack him from this forest where his hit rate against her is only 63, and she has the ability to canter left, which would leave her out of range of Alir. But when you move clan, like I moved clan one to the right, she seems to canter in a favorable direction. And I've heard Nate talk about AI manip before. That might have been what he does there, but all I know is when I tried this without moving clan, she cantered left. When I tried it with moving clan, she cantered right, and right is what you want. So we're out of there a turn early.
That's actually pretty cool. I actually like that.
Yeah, it's nice when you can like get her to cooperate every time.
Do you find that it's an every time thing, or is there instances where she'll go to the left?
Every time I've moved clan, she has cooperated. But when I didn't move clan, she consistently does not cooperate.
Understandable then.
So I have no idea how he discovered that, or if it even like does always work, but it worked here, so we'll take it.
That is pretty good. It saves a turn, a combat, and moving another unit.
Yep. Here, of course, we're using Alir kamikaze strats, where Alir is just going to run in, engage, and clear the map in only one cycle of his engage here. This looks extremely risky, and in the race that that happened where I drafted this team, Alir did die, but he actually succeeds here more often than not. And what really determines whether or not he succeeds is how many breaks he gets hit by. So you'll see him dodge. You'll see him get attacked by a lot of lance-wielding enemies that have approximately 40% hit. If he can dodge at least like 2 or 3 of those attacks, we're going to be in good shape. If he gets hit by all of them, then he does have the chance of just dying, and we have to reset the level. And here
What
he
also
does just get
enables
hit by
the
one.
strat. What also enables this strat is Marth. So Marth's Emblem Ring gives us a special second hit, even if you don't double, which also heals you, which is very important for staying alive.
Yes. So the ideal Alir for this chapter actually gains 2 points of speed, but doesn't gain any. Gains 2 points of strength, but doesn't gain any speed, so that you can one round the sword wielding enemies here and heal off of that attack. Because if you double them like naturally, the attack that heals you won't come out. It's only like the Marth attack. We can see we're on really low health here, but there's actually nothing left that can kill us. So Alir is going to be okay. I checked the combat against this Pegasus Knight because if she doesn't kill him, then we can just attack that archer and get out of the chapter. But she does do just enough damage, so we have to use a vulnerary and take an extra turn.
Hey, there's that one magic you needed.
Yeah, that 1 point of magic is really nice if you're going to clear Chapter 5 with an Alir solo. And this does happen with many carries that are not Saline.
That one magic was the bane of my early game existence. Trying to route early game and do early game. I was so happy I didn't have to do a layer solo.
Yeah, if you do have to rely on that, it's like every level up, you're like, come on, give me it. And it's only a 20% growth, so you might not get it in time. We do have to get a lot of the iron here in the early game, and I struggle to find that one for a second. But in every chapter up to chapter 6, we're going to go out of the way for a few seconds to get the iron. That's a Celine specific thing. And it's one reason why I kind of had expected somebody to post a faster time than Celine could, because you do have to do a bunch of extra things there. But Celine, we're gonna meet her now. She's joining in chapter 4, and she has a really good introduction. She can clear the chapter that she joins on faster than anybody else by a matter of like a couple of minutes. And after this point in the game, Celine, if you keep using her as a carry, she can carry just about as well as anybody, with her strength and magic stats that just barely meet the thresholds that she needs. And that's the reason that I had consistently had her at the number 1 pick. But she joins here with the Celica Ring, and the Celica Ring allows us to perform this move called Warp Ragnarok, where our character warps up to 10 spaces and delivers an attack with the Ragnarok tome. So since Celine joins on the map with the ring equipped, she's the only one who can do that on this chapter, which is a huge advantage. Because normally we'd be having Alir either walk to the boss, or we could have Clan use the Sigurd ring and get to the boss. But your options for doing damage to this Armor Knight boss are very limited to either like someone using the Marth emblem for the rapier or someone using magic. Celine, of course, uses magic and 1-rounds every enemy on the map.
Vander can also do it with the Noah tune in 2 rounds of combat.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, no, options are very limited.
I move Louis onto the fort here just to save him. I don't need to because I don't have him drafted, and I fumble a little bit with his Iron Lance, which did sort of make me regret it, but it's not a huge loss.
The great thing too about the Celica Ring is that Seraphim deals additional damage to all of the corrupted on this map, and it's like one of really the only maps that the Seraphim is like relevant because of the extra damage for that.
Yeah, you're right. She one shots a lot of them because just about everybody's corrupted, like this guy.
Yeah, every enemy is corrupted except for the boss. So that's another, that's
also an amazing level there. Strength, magic, and speed.
Check the switch.
We're gonna be paying attention to her magic stat in particular. Her strength stat to a lesser extent. If she can hit 18 strength by a certain point of the game, in order to get enough damage off with an Astral Storm, she's generally okay. And if she reaches a certain magic benchmark, then she'll hit all the magic that she needs. Otherwise, she's pretty solid stat-wise. Her strength and her luck and her res are always extremely good. Or sorry, did I say strength? I meant speed.
Mixed attacker for you.
Now entering Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is this game's hardest chapter.
And he's not really even exaggerating.
Yeah, no, I'm not joking. We're gonna make quick work of it thanks to Celine, but there's only a handful of characters that can meaningfully speed up this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them do it with a particularly large amount of consistency.
Can Clan do this strat as well as...
It can. You sure technically can.
Yeah. We're also going to visit the shop for the first time here in Chapter 5. We get one set of tonics at first at the level 1 shop, and we have to actually start using them right away because Chapter 5 is so scary, as Josh just said. We definitely want at minimum magic, defense, and HP. Magic... Celine at base with the Magic Tonic can exactly 1-round KO the boss. If she gets Resonance during the chapter, she can get a little bit overkill. But she does it at base with the Magic Tonic, which is nice. And then the HP and defense are, of course, going to aid in her survivability. Because she's going to kind of go up against everyone at once. And we want her to just keep attacking until she wins, basically.
Also, I see you have the torch on Alir. Is that for next map? Is there actually torch application?
Yes, next map we're going to see Fog of War, and we're going to see an Alir torch stat. Alir's down here fighting enemies as Celine warps into this second room. Alir is going to... Like, if we could undeploy Alir for this chapter, it would be faster, but he's serving a very important role here in the form of burning RNG. If we find that, like, during an enemy phase, Celine gets hit by too many attacks, or, like, she needs to dodge the boss but she doesn't, then we can rewind time and have Alir do something else to change the outcome in our favor. We'll get to see this rewind firsthand because this second sword fighter here is not going to move the way that I need him to. So what we can do is rewind time, and this one always sort of tricks me because this axe guy does not look like he should have moved there, but when I go back and do it again, the sword fighter does move into the correct spot. You can impact where the enemies move on the grid by doing this. It eats up a lot of time very quickly, but you can do it. And I do decide to do that here because I want Celine to occupy this spot here that the sword fighter stood in, because it can exactly reach the boss without being in range of either of the cavaliers to his side there. And we want to avoid taking additional attacks here because the boss is going to get in range as a backup unit. And those are very likely to hit.
The turns are also very, like, specific because after this turn there would be reinforcements spawning in, and don't want to deal with those as well as the boss.
Right.
Now it's time to gamble.
This strategy is exclusive to Celine and Clan. There's one other character who can do this map faster, and that is Chloe. When Chloe uses, or I guess when any flying unit uses a Warp Ragnarok, they get an additional 5 tile, which lets you go all the way up to the top, allowing you to complete this map also on turn 3, but it's even less consistent than this.
Yeah, Chloe has to 2-round KO the boss instead of 1-round KOing him, so she faces a lot more attacks while she's doing it, and thus it's easier to die. After I pick up this piece of iron, we're going to go to our first Somniel visit of the run. This Somniel visit is another Saline exclusive thing that slows her down, but the time she saves in chapters 4 and 5 kind of makes up for it. We're going to go in here to forge her the Holy Fire Tome +2, and that's it. And it might feel a little excessive to go to the Somniel and eat that whole loading screen just to forge a fire tome, but the additional void from the Holy Engrave is going to be extremely important in the upcoming chapters, and even the +2 from the forge here is going to be nice versus the upcoming bosses, which have a lot of resistance in Ivy, Hortensia, and Hyacinth. Well, not Hyacinth. She won't be using that weapon, but the upcoming bosses do have a lot of resistance. We don't need any tonics for this chapter, so we're just going to jump right in. Alir kills this first enemy extremely easily. I think you need like a point of speed, and you'll always do it with the Folkvanger. And then this upcoming square here was actually found by Smithsville. Because we're going to have Saline warp Ragnarok in one more time, as she's been doing for the past couple of chapters. But if we move Yunaka here, we can uncover an enemy on the other side of the fence that you can still reach with just the Warp Ragnarok, and then she's not going to get bogged down. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to take credit for this because I'm pretty sure I was the one that did this. Going all the way to the top.
Yeah, it wasn't me. Celine, as long as she gets 1 point of strength, she can double these axe guys that are going to appear here, and they won't slow her down. Alir's gonna clear his path forward, but he won't need to really exit this maze very far. Yunaka's gonna uncover another square here, so Celine can fully move. And as I go to heal Celine here, I notice that the Seraph Robe is still in her inventory. So we'll lock that away for another second or two. When Alir moves here and he uses the torch, it's going to just barely uncover a spot Celine can move to enemy phase the boss, and she's going to use the Seraph Robe on this turn. Because it does, in this game, it does increase your current HP in addition to your max HP, so this did actually help against the boss. And here we can see that Holy Engrave in action too. She's got, because imagine if her hit rates were, the hit rates against her were 20% higher. That would be extremely scary here. Another point of magic. So we are definitely ahead of schedule on the magic. And just like that, we're out of there.
Chapter 7, probably one of the funnest early game maps, and by funnest I mean awful when you're trying to go fast.
Yeah, this is a defeat boss map, which of course means that we're going to rout all the enemies. We kind of have to do this with Celine because she, unlike the archer carries that you can get by Chapter 7, Celine is not able to one-shot Hortensia, but she is able to one-round all of the other enemies on the map, so we're just going to have her stand there for a while and vacuum them all up while Hortensia kind of refuses to go down. There was a funny moment in the past race where Cool Nate deployed Clan on this map, and I heard him say Lady Celica in my ears. So I was like, oh man, he's gonna warp all the way in there. He's level 1. It's not gonna go well. But that is how you would get Hortensia back to the start here if you had an archer carry, and you could very easily hit her with the enemy phase, player phase 1-2 combo to kill her, to end this map very quickly.
I see a third deployed unit on this one.
That's
Boucheron
right.
Is here. What's Boucheron doing here?
Boucheron's here to wear the Micaiah ring and great sacrifice if he needs to. I deployed Boucheron for this instead of Fram because at the time I didn't think it would matter. As it turns out, deploying Boucheron here sort of messes up my deployment order in a later map. So he sort of screwed me up there, but we'll get to that later. Should have just done it with Fram. But either way, the third unit here is to use Great Sacrifice. This is you can do this by wearing Micaiah's emblem ring, and that's her like ultimate attack that you can do once per engage cycle. And in the event that our carry is low on health, we can use that to heal to full sort of for free from any range.
So back when you first warp Ragnarok sailing over there and you killed the top guy, it's because the bottom guy has a heavy weapon, so he's not going to be able to counterattack you. You get to attack first because of how heavy weapons are, right?
Right. She one-shot either one of them, but yeah, killing the guy who can attack you first versus the guy that cannot attack you first is safer, because that's one fewer attack that we face. The attacks are not, like, super threatening, even still. They did, like, 6 damage with 30% accuracy, but the more of those low percent hits that we can cut out, the better. Engage is a game where any hit rate below 50% is 1 RN, so what you see is what you get. Unlike other Fire Emblem games where a 20% might be super easy to dodge, in a 1 RN game, that 20% is going to be super easy to get hit by. Here comes Hortensia, and because we used a speed tonic, we actually have a lot of speed here, and we were able to 1-round KO all the enemies that came before her. If they were still alive, they would have also took place in that all-for-one attack, and we would have taken a lot more damage than we did.
And you're going after Gold Mary to limit the number of backup attacks.
Right, because she's one of the few enemies that we don't 1-round KO, so if I just let her attack and stay alive, she would be doing a backup attack, I guess twice here, which not only is more dangerous for Celine, but it's slower to watch the animation. She's doing quite well on her
Celine's
stats.
looking really good.
Yeah.
Jeez. Could have shaved off another 3 minutes if our Saline was like this on race day.
Yeah, unfortunately she
First time
can't.
you use-
She unfortunately can't double Hortensia here, which would have saved even more time, but she's still gonna. She could do it as quickly as possible. There's no enemies left. Did you have something, Josh?
This is your first use of Folkvogner. The sword on a Lear.
The first use of Folkvogner was against that one brigand in Chapter 6 that drops the Makai ring.
Oh.
That sword is very good. Alir sort of has... He has his personal sword. I'm referring to Alir as he because the Alir that I'm using is male. He's got his personal sword, the Liberation. We typically put the Dawn engrave on that, which will reduce its power but increase your avoid by a lot. And that's going to be Alir's go-to weapon for when we just sort of need to hide him and have him not die. The Folkvanger, on the other hand, is not an exclusive weapon to Alir, but the way we use it might as well be. That's the weapon that we use for when Alir needs some power. So we're going to put the Beginnings engrave on that. We're going to the Somniel again, by the way. That's what we're about to do here. We're going to do some engraving and some investing. But first we're going to give Alir those 2 swords that I just mentioned, and we're going to give Celine back the Holy Fire. I have them trade for a second because it equips the weapons. So yeah, we're going to do those 2 engraves that I just talked about. The Folkvanger is going to get the Beginnings engrave for more power. The Liberation is going to get the Dawn engrave for a lot of avoid. And then we're going to go and invest into Brodia. And to do this, we need to sell everything we have that we're not currently using.
This is the game's only major selling spree. And we need 40,000 gold in order to fix Brodia's crumbling infrastructure.
Yes. So to do this, we're going to sell everything except for that one men's staff, the vulneraries that we kept aside, the holy weapons that we cannot sell, and the fire tome that we engraved earlier, as well as like the torch and the pure water that we bought before. And even then, we can really only just barely make it.
in addition, we grabbed those achievements. What do those achievements give us?
The achievements give us bond fragments. Bond fragments can be picked up after every chapter, as well as picked up from that achievement board, and they can be used to engrave weapons with emblem engraves, and also to train with emblems in the arena, which will give us access to skills, proficiencies, and others.
This is our first usage of Sigurd.
Yes, Sigurd, everyone's favorite emblem that reminds you that movement is the best stat, is extremely good at letting a unit traverse the map very quickly without like needing to fly or anything, because Sigurd gives you 1 additional base move and 5 additional move on top of that when you're engaged. So on turn 1, we have him go all the way across the outside here and do this override move so that he can be in range to attack Ivy on turn 2, which is important because, as some eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed, Celine is not promoted for this map. I made a mistake. She is supposed to be promoted for this map. However, her promotion is 1 that gives her exactly 1 to every stat, and because she is ahead of schedule in a lot of her stats, we can get away with it here, especially with level ups like that. But Ivy's about to come over, and Celine does actually manage to just barely 1-round KO her, even while I'm promoted, so we don't get punished for it. Alir is now in range because of the additional Sigurd movement to come over and just give her a little extra attack for some more damage, because she takes less damage on our player phase than she does on enemy phase because of the leaf ring that she's wearing.
So you're not using the wind tome that you just picked up to kill her?
Well, you can see it doesn't kill her. So that's why Alir needs to... Because I didn't promote. It would have. But Alir comes over, he uses the Folkvanger, which is going to land a crit, actually. So now we can just kill her with whatever weapon we want. I put Alir next to Celine to do extra damage. And we are out of there.
And that's sad.
But we are going to promote her for the next map, so we're going to be back on track. This next map is going to feature a really cool strategy that I saw first done by Team Front-Facing Fiends in the relay race. But first, we are going to pick up all the ore that we spent all that money on in the Somniel. Donating to Brodia increases the ore drop by 7 times. So we picked up...
5 times.
Isn't it 5 for level 3 and 7 for level 4?
Yeah, it's 7.
Yeah, so we got a ton of material just now.
Get it up to level 4, is it?
Yeah, it's level 4.
It's level 4. So we're going to buy this rewarp staff. This is the first point at which the rewarp staff is available in the shop. I meant to go to the Somniel here, but I'm actually weighing my options here as I shop to see if I can get away with not going. However, I decided in the end that I should just go to the Somniel. What I need here is a Levin Sword +4 with the Holy Engrave, and that weapon is going to carry us through the rest of the game, actually. Even with a magic stat as mediocre as Celine's, the Levin Sword +4 Holy Engrave is just so strong. So I'm going to get that, and I'm also going to emblem train her with some emblems. The most important one is Sigurd. Well, I wouldn't even say he's the most important one, but a super important one is Sigurd. We're going to emblem train with him so that we can inherit Canter. Canter is a skill that allows you to move 2 spaces after attacking or performing an action that gives you experience. This is a really important skill for the strategies that we have developed. It is possible to play the game without it, but I simply haven't seen anyone do it faster without Canter, so I'm gonna continue going for it until proven otherwise. So that's why she's fighting Sigurd of Chalfie here. She's also going to need to train with Emblem Leaf, because Emblem Leaf gives lots of weapon proficiencies, and the one we are interested in is daggers. Dagger proficiency gives us access to the Wolf Knight class later, which is an extremely good class. Finally, she's going to Emblem Train with Roy. This is just going to provide more passive stats when she syncs with Roy much later on in the game, but we don't know if she needs those stats at this point, so I'm going to Emblem Train with her every time here. My favorite combo is Boku wa Roy Dayo into Roy getting bodied. We're going to inherit some avoid skills from Marth on Alir. These are going to stack with Deliberation to give him lots of avoid for when we need to just put him on a pillar and have him not die. Celine, as mentioned, is going to inherit Canter. And finally, Alir is going to grab the Micaiah Ring and the Rewarp Staff.
The first instance where we get to see Micaiah's other effect come into play, which is that the unit who has her ring on gains C rank in staves.
And what staves can you use at C rank?
You can use most of them, including but not limited to Mend and Rewarp.
Yes, and those, of course, are the two stabs that are in Alir's inventory.
I see probably the different changes. You're not going to go for the Spirit Dust.
Well, we actually are going to go for the Spirit Dust because I have the Celine ring on. I have the Celica ring on Celine still. So when I place her next to Alir here, I can have Alir rewarp. And then I can warp Ragnarok Celica over there.
Yeah, now that we have the spare rewarp, where before we didn't, but now that we do, you can actually do this. Okay,
that's right.
A lot more sense.
That's right, and we know that we can warp. We can clear this entire chapter with wind. I do check the convoy because I meant to give her the Levin sword, but I know that even if it's in the convoy, I can't take it out and still warp Ragnarok far enough. So I'm just going in with the wind. It is in Diamant's inventory. So eagle-eyed viewers will note that I did not trade that off of Diamant. I just forged it straight from there and didn't put it in the convoy. But because we can just do this with the wind tome, we didn't get punished yet again.
This is immediately seeing Cantor's first assistance for us, allowing us to go onto this forest tile for additional avoid.
Right. And in fact, when I was shopping and thinking about whether I wanted to go to the Somniel, that was the reason that I ended up going to the Somniel, so that I could canter onto that that bush. We could have done this whole strat without the Somniel, if not for that one square. If I was one to the left, of course, Ivy would still be able to reach me, but then that martial monk would have chain guarded, so I wouldn't be able to beat her on turn 2 player phase, like I'm about to.
And what is a chain guard?
A chain guard, if a martial monk, which is sort of this game's version of like a cleric, a base staff-wielding class, can, if they are at full health, they can stand next to an enemy and chain guard, which will absorb the hit that, absorb the first hit that enemy takes damage from. And the damage will then go to the martial monk instead. So you won't do any damage to the enemy you're trying to damage. It's essentially a Pachirisu with Rage Powder. But because we did not allow him to do that, we can kill Ivy on turn 2 player phase.
Pretty good. And we're on the last chapter of early game.
Yep. I also messed up my my splits there. A lot of mental lapses in the past 2 chapters for me, but I do tighten it up a bit.
As you should.
Right. If I'm gonna go for record times, I should really tighten it up.
How are you going to maintain your 2:17 world record?
We'll see how long it even lasts for. We're giving Alir and Celine a bunch of tonics here because Hyacinth is a pretty tough boss to take down. We're also going to make sure to actually give her the 11 sword this time by trading with Demont. Again, I'm trading and not just like going through the convoy because I want her to have the item equipped.
Yes.
This is the only way to one-shot Gold Mary. I mean, actually the 11 sword might do it, but I think you need a lot of magic for that if you're Celine. And here we're gonna once again see the use of Alir with rewarp. Rewarping out of this room into the next room just freezes all the enemies in that first room except for the thief that's running to the chests, so we don't actually have to deal with them at all. We only need to kill Morion, this mid-boss here in the middle, and Hyacinth, the boss at the top. I have Alir mend for just 1 HP because he still needs to reach level 10. He hasn't really been doing all that much up to this point, and we want level 10 by next chapter so that he can get 1 additional move. And staffs give a lot of XP. That being said, I should have used the Folkmonger there. That would have 2-round KO'd the enemy instead of 3-round, but it doesn't end up mattering.
So for certain characters, standing next to Alir while fighting Morion gets you the additional 2 damage. Do you find that that's sometimes relevant, depending on the carry?
I have seen it. I've seen it be relevant with the Levin sword. I think it's usually not. I think you usually just 1-round KO him, and the only thing is that you need enough speed. But yeah, I mean, it definitely helps. She wouldn't have needed it for that second health bar though. If there was like a way around him, she would have gone around him. I'm leaving Alir down there so that when he moves up, he does get hit by this Astral Storm. He can just run up and use a Vulnerary next to Celine for Gentle Flower. But if she was the one to get attacked instead, he would just use the Mend Staff on her. And this Martial Monk did just use a Chain Guard, so if I go to attack Hyacinth, since he is very fast, I can't double him, so I would actually just do no damage to him. So it's a lot more productive to just kill the Martial Monk. Alir gets
There's a question.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, have you tried? Because I know that there are some people who can bait his gauntlet down with, like a knife. Have you tried baiting him with a tome?
I mean, no, actually, because I'm using a Levin sword here. Maybe that would have worked.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a thought I've had, and I just don't know if it actually works. But I have seen people do it with a dagger.
It does
so.
work.
Yeah, it should work. This chapter is definitely a little slower than I've seen it played before.
Just because you're just on speed in order, so you can't double Hyacinth.
Right, but with how much damage a Leer just did to him, we can take him out with a Warp Ragnarok that is divinely inspiring boosted.
Now it's time for Griffin Fun Times.
Yeah, we're gonna have a double class change coming up. For the midpoint of the game, we really like to have a unit in a flying class. That could be a Griffin Knight or a Wyvern Knight. Celine is going to, of course, choose Griffin because it's got more magic and more speed, and we don't need additional weapon types beyond sword. It also helps that that they can use staffs for a certain chapter later on.
It's my favorite heroes of Asker, Karina and Alphonse.
Yes. She's using Anna, actually, I think.
Oh, no Alphonse love. Not until 22.
Yeah, no Alphonse. Alphonse is good for if you want strength. But 12 magic while class changing into Griffin is like not that bad. It looks pretty low, but it's actually like pretty good for her. She usually has about 10 right now.
Yeah, Griffin is despite being the more magical of the flying classes, with the exception of the specialty classes, like typically these flying classes do not have a lot of magic, and Griffin is no exception.
Yeah, we're putting a lot of faith into the magic provided by the Holy Levin Sword +4.
Luckily for us, that faith is not misguided.
Yes. We have
How
a
do you feel
Leer.
about holdout spam?
Yeah, so this guy with holdout is the reason why I unequipped a Leer. If you have a Leer with a sword on, he'll have more avoid, and he'll kill that enemy. So it seems like it would be much better for him survival wise. And here he does fall to exactly 1 HP. It's only because I used the resistance and defense tonics that he lived in the first place. But I don't equip him there because if he were to kill that guy with holdout, Vale would reassign Roy's emblem ring to this guy on the left here who's an armor knight, and then we wouldn't be able to kill that guy on this enemy phase, where Celine's about to kill him now in this run. If he was still there, he would like get in a Leer's way, and I would have to like choose between healing and killing the guy, and like you don't even always do damage to that guy with the liberation equipped. So I think it's just a lot cleaner if I leave him unequipped, let that guy live, and then kill the armor knight with Celine here. But what are we gonna do about all these extra enemies? Well, as it turns out, we got 3 blue units here. None of them are drafted, but if we leave Zelkov in the way of all those enemies there, they're gonna attack him, and because he's a covert, they're gonna have like no hit in the forest with the exception of the backup attacks, so he's like not gonna die. We just need to unequip all these people, which takes a lot longer than it seems like it should.
So due to the canon event, we have unfortunately lost all of our emblem rings, leaving us with just the 3 bond rings that we get from the Heroes DLC. Luckily, Ivy, in her infinite wisdom, has brought 2 emblem rings for us.
That's right, she's brought us Lynn and Lucina, and these rings, by nature of their availability, are just going to be extremely important in the run, but they're actually pretty good, like, in terms of what they do specifically as well. Lynn is a very nice ring to put on our carry for the mid-game here. She gives them speed. She lets them take more speed. And speed will... speed is the main stat that affects your avoid rate, which is extremely important in this game. As I mentioned before, it's 1 RN, so any hit rate that exists and is higher than 0 is a threat. So if we need more avoid in order to reach 0 hit, we can throw Lin onto our carry and get a little bit closer there. Even if it's just something like turning a 16 hit attack into a 12 hit attack. That's just like it's a way better outcome there for us.
All right, this is where I take my leave. Have fun with the rest of the thing.
All right, enjoy your evening,
worry.
Smith.
Bye.
Maybe Meister will
see it
pop in
back
with a
to
steel
you.
chair when we get to his chapters later.
Maybe.
So this
In the
Somniel
meantime,
visit
go get
here
the,
is forced by the game. We didn't have an option or anything, so we're gonna make use of it by going to the arena and training with Lin. Any carry here, we're gonna do the same thing with. We're gonna emblem train with Lin, and then inherit a speed plus skill. Celine has a little bit more SP here than most other carries do, so she's able to afford speed plus 3. Even if we could only afford speed plus 2, it would still be hugely beneficial, not just for the avoid thing that I mentioned earlier, but for reaching even some speed benchmarks. There are like some sword masters that we need to fight on turn 1 later on. With Celine, I'm training her all the way to level 10 though, because she can afford speed level 3. But with most other carries, I would train them to level 5 and just let them reach 10 by normal gameplay. There's not a whole lot else we can do here, though. We do activate the Alir and Celine C support. That'll be helpful later. For now, it's like we can increase their hit rate, I think, some of the time, and that's good enough to activate it. This is our third of 4 shopping trips. This one's just for tonics and a torch staff, I guess. I think I also get a second seal. And these tonics are going to be enough to last through the mid-game until the final shopping trip. It might make sense to condense buying tonics into fewer shopping trips, but like you have to, in this game the convoy is bad, so you have to scroll through all of the individual tonics that you have. It's not fun, so splitting it up makes it a little bit better.
This is our first chapter with an actual time pressure, I think.
Yeah, that's right. In this chapter, if you don't route the map by turn 4, then reinforcements are going to appear. And we don't want the reinforcements to appear because our units are going to be out of position to intercept them. Also because it's slower to face them. Fortunately, we have a drafted unit that's joining us right now. His name is Bunnet. Anyone who played this game knows that Bunnet is famous for having really bad stats and having weird quotes. But in the draft race context, he does a lot of jobs that we want to draft for, which makes him a good unit to like have on our draft board for a late round pick. Like in this draft, I drafted him in round 6. I considered drafting him in round 5 really, but I decided to take Rosado instead, because I thought he was less likely to remain on the board. This guy with a spear is always really scary. I've had 3 hit against him, but I have been hit by him before. But for now, Bonetta is just going to chill up there. Celine is about to pull off our first Astrostorm of the run. This Astrostorm is nice. It's going to actually save us a turn here. Normally, I would go for a 4-turn clear of this map, but because her strength is pretty big, I decide to use the Astrostorm to take out that Sword Master down there. And now, with Cantor, she can be in range to kill the final enemy on turn 3 enemy phase. You thought I forgot about Benet, didn't you? But nope, here he comes. He's going to kill this one enemy who otherwise would not be dead yet. And with that, we've routed the map on time. Somehow I saved a turn here, but lost time overall. I guess it's I must have taken longer while shopping or something, but it's a funny example of how in draft racing fewer turns don't always mean that it's faster. Like we saved a turn there, but the turn itself was like the only thing that changed is like 3 NPCs ran, and we didn't have to watch that happen this time. It's a very short turn. But there are other chapters where saving a turn would save you a very long enemy phase, but that's not always the case. Selena's going to take 2 interesting items here from the convoy. They are the elixir and a torch. So keep that in mind.
She also took every tonic except for strength.
Yep, I think she actually did take strength too.
Oh wow, okay.
But she wouldn't have needed to. And of course Fram, our 3rd round draft pick, is going to take the warp from Pantreo's inventory. This is going to be our first use of the warp staff in this run. There are 3 warp staffs that we will have access to. Each of those warp staffs have 5 uses. We're going to use every one of those uses.
A total of 15. Additionally, there's 5 uses of each rewarp staff as well. There's only 2 rewarp staffs that we have available, so 10 uses.
Yep.
This means that we have 25 warps, or warp adjacent.
And just for good measure, we're breaking on a rescue staff too. So with that first warp, also this canter, Celine is able to set herself up here, and also get a nice speed taker proc on top of it. We're gonna have one of these units, one of these undrafteds here visit this house, and we need them to not have a weapon equipped because they're gonna get attacked. On enemy phase, there's always going to be that flyer there that will attack the undrafted, unequipped unit, and they can only reach from this one square on the right. That one square on the right just happens to be perfectly in range for Celine to full move, attack, and get another canter off.
This chapter in particular is one of the few that really has an evident time save with canter that's very visible.
Yes.
As you'll see, we trigger it, I think, 4 times in a map that is only 6 turns long, typically.
There's the second time. And of course, we're going to use 2 undrafteds here to block off Tamara, because Tamara, it comes with an Ike ring equipped, and her Ike ring gives her a skill called Resolve. So if she gets attacked too many times, she will activate that skill, which as an undrafted unit, she is not allowed to do. The solution to this is to just block the enemies from ever reaching her. We can see though that Illyrid fails to actually kill this enemy, which means that he's behind on strength. It's not a problem because that enemy is not a threat, it's just sort of an indicator of what's to come. Celine, of course, just used a torch staff. This is a Fog of War chapter, and in this game, Fog of War is really strict. You cannot walk through it at all. So Celine actually has to use a torch here in order to fully move on the next turn. And she definitely wants to fully move on this turn, because she has to fully move in order to just barely reach the boss with an Astra Storm. And when she reaches the boss with an Astral Storm, the boss are now going to run straight to her, and she can start fighting them. So that's what Canter gets us. Gets us to the bosses in fewer turns, and the turns on this map are, like, not insignificant. Yeah. There's a lot of enemies that will move.
Three green units are moving situation. No, there's a lot going on in these turns.
It is unfortunate that we got hit by that smash attack. So I'm going to just go up here instead of going like south, which is typically safer. There are more enemies that can attack me now. And of course, this boss that has now entered my range is going to be providing backup attacks for all these enemies that try to fight me.
Luckily, the enemy hit rates are not very high.
They're not very high, but like this one's scary. Nice level up, strength and magic, and defense. This one's 0, so it's not bad. But then this one's scary. And I believe that's it. Yeah, so because it's the boss with a tomahawk, I can attack him here because I know that he's going to go before all the other enemies that are down here, and he has 0 hit displayed against me. But yeah, that was a little bit sketch. If Selena died there, the remedy, of course, would have been to Divine Pulse and use an elixir instead of attacking the boss. But of course, that would have been slower. Chapter 14 is another chapter where we're going to have to use every tonic on our carry. Gets a little bit scary.
This chapter wins the award for one of the most obnoxious chapters in the game.
I agree.
And went through several revisions from us working on it over the several months that we were working on this game before we finally settled on this strat. I think that's an accurate descriptor of what happened.
Yeah, I think so too. What you'll see, though, is that Celine kind of has, like, one less magic than we would like her to have, so we still sort of have to adapt it a little bit. Celine sort of runs through the entire game being, like, right on the edge of hitting many important benchmarks.
This makes her technically very good because she can hit every benchmark, and she does so as an early joiner who also has access to Canter in a convenient manner. But it does make her a higher risk carry due to the fact that sometimes she just doesn't hit.
Yeah, but there are, like, it's not a situation like if you don't hit the benchmarks, you just lose. There are usually ways to play around it. Because she'll hit, like, the speed benchmarks that are important, that will just wall you. She just will sometimes miss, like, magic. She's hitting everything here, though, which is good. Sometimes those guys with lances can break you with, like, 9% or something obnoxious like that. Also keep in mind that every time we get a kill on player phase with the Lin Ring, we get Speed Taker proc. It'll say Speed Taker, and that'll give us 2 additional speed, which translates to 4 additional avoid. This silver sword that the enemy drops is nice because sometimes we won't be able to reach these thresholds, like right now against Mavir, and silver sword will make the difference. So when I go to attack Zephia, I see that I'm off by 1 damage, so we have to use the silver sword, which means that for 1 turn we have to not counter the 2 range enemies. And we won't do very much damage to Marnie either. Alir once again is behind on strength. Usually that strength tonic will patch it up in order to kill that enemy, but he's kind of far behind right now. There's that point of magic, though. So we can at least... we'll be able to one-round Hortensia. I also have it in my notes here for Alir specifically to pick up Marin's Elixir, because it's only the second elixir we have access to at this point, and it's not in the convoy, so Alir can't just immediately reach it. But I didn't have him do that, and as I look at his health bar being sort of low, it's sort of all I can think about. But he is going to be fine.
Now that we have broken Hortensia's first health bar, she will now go into Dancer mode, which means that at the end of all of her actions will now be Diabolical Dance until we break her next health bar.
And when I cantered back and right the way I did, it left these two enemies here to not reach me the first turn that they could move, and so Hortensia would have to Diabolical Dance for them. We want to sort of stretch this out because there's a thief that is on his way to the treasure room, and we want him to help us out before we beat the map.
What's so important in this treasure room?
Well, as you'll see with the thief, the first chest that he opens is going to have the boots, which are a very famous item in Fire Emblem that increases a unit's movement. With additional movement, we can have our carry achieve objectives slightly sooner.
Okay.
Which is why we're going to have to wait to kill Hortensia until we can pick up the boots. So to do this, I shoot her with a bow, which means I can take out a health bar on player phase and then not worry about killing her by accident on enemy phase. I take another turn, and now the thief finally makes it to the boots chest. But spam, I hear you saying. The thief is all the way over there, and your units are not in the room with him. So that's why we're going to use the third Astra Storm of the run to shoot the thief and wait in range to hit Hortensia with that bow again on enemy phase. And this will end the map. So yeah, pretty obnoxious, but I think we found a pretty good way to navigate it. On this map, we're going to see the return of Bunei. When Fram is the warper on the team, there are certain things that she can't do compared to other warpers. Most other warpers we would have by now are promoted. They can use magic tomes, and they can use Elfire, which is really powerful. Fram can't do any of that. She's the level 1 unpromoted unit who just happens to be able to use warp at base. There is one enemy on this map that I want to be able to fight with a unit who is not Alir or Celine. Usually that's my warper, but in this case, Fram can't do it, so Bunei is going to fill that role. And he's going to be wearing the Byleth ring, which is a ring we just got when we defeated Hortensia. Hortensia, if you recall, entered Dancer mode That's what the Byleth ring allows us to do. So Bunei on this map is going to enter dancer mode.
These dances are special and different from a normal dancer in the series, as it allows us to dance for up to 4 people, so long as they're all adjacent to the person wearing the Byleth ring.
I'll never forget my first time playing Genealogy of the Holy War and like using the dancer and being like, why isn't it prompting me to choose a target for this dance? And then it just targeted everybody. Good times. We want that fighter to cooperate and attack Seedall from the right side. That's Seedall, by the way. He's our dancer. He's one of the free units on the bottom. This is the correct position, so we will be able to move forward with this strategy.
It might look like Seedall is in danger, but don't worry. These fighters are garbage.
Yep.
And so we don't actually have to worry about his survival.
They have like compact axes, which are not a real axe, and they have their stats are just so bad. He could win this 1v2 if we leave him alone. We're not going to leave him alone though. We're going to recruit him with a leer and start to fight our way back out. There's a lot of doors in this chapter. We just opened the first one by talking to Seedall. The rest of them we're going to have to destroy by hitting them with our weapons. The objective of this chapter is to escape with Seedall from the final room. Before we do that, we're going to have to uncover the room, which we're doing by flying Celine through. And we're also going to make use of Fram. Of course, Fram is our warper, so that should give you a hint as to what she's going to do here.
This chapter also has an additional side objective, which is that there is a stat booster, namely the energy drop, also hidden on this map behind the ceiling.
That's right, so we're going to have to find a way to get that too, because with Celine, we want all of the stat boosters we can get. This map also has a mechanic that I don't think has been in Fire Emblem before, and that's the miasma tiles. You see those like sort of purple flames that are on the tiles? Those provide a terrain that gives enemies plus 20 to damage reduction and player units plus 20 to damage taken. So they're extremely threatening, and we would usually want to use terrain clearing emblem ring like Corrin or like Ike's Great Ether in order to clear that stuff, but we found a route so that we could just kind of run our carry through and not have to actually deal with any of that.
At least for this map.
For this map, yeah. For a later map, we will want to take appropriate measures. This room that Celine is unlocking right now contains the energy ring, so we'll probably see her run in there to grab it soon enough. Well, I guess she's going to open that other door first. Alir and Seedall are sort of wedged against that wall there. You may recall that the objective of this map is to get Seedall all the way to the end. But the end is not open yet, so we're not able to get him there.
He's also a little far away from the end.
Yeah, like he's gonna have to walk like all the way through. I guess we're just routing the map first, and then we're gonna walk him all the way around. I bet.
Yeah.
We can't leave any enemies alive. He's just a dancer, so they're gonna beat him up.
That's right.
certainly we'll have to at least clear the final room before letting him through there. So here comes Celine. She's gonna open up the final room, and without further ado, we're just gonna warp Seedall directly in there.
That's right.
He has this cool weapon called the Shielding Art, which is gonna raise his defense by 5. And he's gonna use a Vein of Ice, which will block some of the enemies from reaching him. And the enemies are just gonna go ahead and not kill him, and at the same time move out of the way so that he can escape on the next turn.
But before we get out of there, we need to make one other warp, which will have a Leer grab the energy drop.
And doing it on the final turn like this, yeah, all Fram's level ups are great. Doing it on the final turn just skips a couple of combats with a Leer, and then we're out of there with Seedall before anyone can do anything else. And if only we can get Fram to an acceptable level to carry the game fast enough.
But alas, she's turbo garbage.
Picking up some ore here, we haven't done that in a while. Ever since we invested in Brodio, we've had almost enough ore to last us for the rest of the game. With that additional silver drop, that will give us the remaining ore that we need.
We're now entering Chapter 16. Chapter 16 is the first chapter where we use, and I believe the only chapter where we use Griffin Knight's hidden weapon, which is, of course, staves.
Right. I mentioned before that Griffin Knight is a little bit better than Wyvern because it can use staves, and we're going to show that off here by giving Celine the Rewarp Staff and a Pure Water. Now, Chapter 16 is famous for being a really big map with, like, slow water terrain that you have to sort of wade through one square at a time, and it's always, like, the water levels going up and down and stuff. But we're actually going to be skipping all of that right now because we have a flying carry with a rewarp staff. First, though, Rosado has been drafted, so he's able to just twin strike this corrupted worm, which is a strat that I did the very first time I played this game. And then Fram is going to warp Celine. In case you thought Celine was done moving yet this turn, she's not. She's going to full move into the middle of this island, re-warp past the island, and then canter down a little bit more so that just that one enemy can reach her now. And she's crossed so much of the map with just that one turn of movement that she's going to be able to reach Marnie to attack her on turn 2. You can see her on the screen now.
This map, just like Chapter 14, is a multi-defeat boss, meaning you must defeat at least 2 bosses. In this case, this is Marnie and Mavier, both of which are on the far left of the map.
Yep. If we had 16... If we had 16 base magic before tonics, we would reach the threshold to 1-round KO both those bosses with the Holy Levin Sword +4. We don't have it, we only have 14. But fortunately we have the Manicotti, which is Lynn's second engage weapon. Nice level, by the way. And the Manicotti is effective on both of them. So it will 1-round Mavier and 2-round Marnie. So that's why we attacked her on player phase there. But with the we're not able to really do that on player phase now because Mavier has the Flame Lance, which will attack from 2 range, and we also have to deal with these Martial Monks. I haven't killed any of them, and they're going to be chain guarding like crazy right now. So Marnie is actually double chain guarded right now, and Mavier is single chain guarded. So what we're going to do is attack Mavier with the Levin Sword. This will hit him once so that we can now 2-hit KO him on enemy phase. Marnie is going to attack us on enemy phase and get 1-rounded by the Levin Sword because her resistance is terrible. and that's how we reliably kill both bosses here on this map. There is a world where we actually double crit Marnie on the first player phase and the first enemy phase of fighting the boss, and in that instance the strat wouldn't work because Mavier would get double chain guarded instead. So in that case we would hold the Manicati and use a Pure Water to convince Mavier to attack with the Steel Great Lance instead of the Flame Lance, and we still get him on enemy phase even though he has a 2-range weapon. A unit like Chloe or like Citrine, though, can just hold the Levin Sword and not have to think about it because their magic stats are really good. And now for Chapter 17, we're going to go to the Somniel again. We've sort of concluded the section of the mid-game where we want to be in a flying class. So now we are going to forge the Awakening Engrave Steel Dagger +4, which is going to be our main weapon of choice when we reclass our carry into Wolf Knight. We're also going to make a couple of other forges, the Academy Engraved Hurricane Axe and the Blazing Engraved Hand Axe. The Hand Axe is then going to be upgraded to a Tomahawk once I figure out the exchanging that I need to do in order to do that. And that little maneuver actually saves us from coming back to the Somniel before Chapter 22. And if you were looking closely to the ore in the bottom of the screen there, it had like 9 iron and that was it. It might have had like 5 steel or something. But this just barely works out. And with the bond fragments here, we're going to do a lot of emblem training as well. The bond fragments are only from donating to Brodia and then getting the achievements from doing that. So those are going to just barely get us everything we need here. And we need a lot here because we are training both Alir and Celine to level 8 with Corrin. This will give us Draconic Hex when Corrin is synced to these units. It will also let them inherit Draconic Hex at some point later. I'm also going to be emblem training Alir with Ike. And just like when we emblem trained Roy earlier, the purpose of this is to gain more to the passive stat boosts that Ike provides when he is synced with Alir.
Interesting that you would mention Ike, who is an emblem that we have not used a single time up until this point.
That's correct. Ike is about to get his big moment in Chapter 17, and I think that's the only time he will be used in this run. But he is actually, like, really important for this one use, so important that I am going ahead and bonding him to level 4. And we have a whole 50 bond fragments left over after doing all of this training.
Now, mind you, we could go and get more bond fragments from the achievements banner if we really needed them.
Correct.
This is not true of the ore, which we actually are out of.
Yes. Unless we want to go to the flea market or something. Alir is also taking a magic tonic, which is fascinating because he is a sword-wielding unit, but you can see that Levin sword at the bottom of his inventory. It's about to do a lot of work. Celine is now going to grab that steel dagger, and we're going to class change her, as mentioned, into Wolf Knight. Wolf Knight's an extremely good class, mainly by virtue of having 6 move and access to daggers. But also being a cavalry class will have some additional benefits in the upcoming chapters.
Just be very careful with this reclass. You want to make sure that you pick the sword Wolf Knight, not the axe Wolf Knight.
Yeah, if you pick the axe Wolf Knight, we can no longer use the holy Levin sword +4, and we really want to retain access to that weapon. However, for this chapter, I actually could have given the Holy Levin Sword +4 to Alir, and that might have been beneficial. But we're just going to do it with the base Levin Sword instead. So it's just going to be the two of them, and for those who know this game, this chapter is a very important one plot-wise, and you have to defeat 6 bosses as a map objective. So between the two of them, they will be fighting all 6 of those bosses.
Thaleen will be handling 5 of these bosses.
Right. And you can see that Alir is just barely able to one-round KO these guys, thanks to the Ike emblem training.
As well as the beginnings engrave on the Folk Wagner all the way back from Chapter 9.
And the Strength Tonic.
So truly a team effort here to make this one happen.
So he's going to fight the first boss in Gris here. And a theme of the bosses in this chapter is that they all have emblem rings, and thus they all have access to some of that emblem's skills. So you saw Gris just now did like sort of a mini Warp Ragnarok. It's called a Dark Warp, where he attacked me with 100% accuracy and I couldn't counter, right? So I can easily counterplay that on this turn by healing, but some of the other emblems are going to require a little bit more effort to get around their specific skills. Great level by Celine, and that 18 magic is actually the benchmark that we're looking for. That means she's going to have enough for the rest of the game. That can be 16 before we get the second Spirit Dust from Javier, or 18 after we get the Spirit Dust from Javier. Again, it doesn't sound like 18 is a lot of magic, but it gets the job done. Unfortunately, we can't one-round this Halberdier. It kind of sucks, but it's not going to actually affect much. What does affect something is that we're about to dodge a 95, actually. And that means that that's going to have some implications. That guy's supposed to be alive and at full health. So we have to play around that a little bit. It's not a huge deal. But now here comes Ike with the Great Aether. And this is Ike's ultimate attack. It's going to sort of charge up power for an enemy phase as all the enemies just sort of attack him and bounce right off. And then he's going to unleash a big attack on player phase that will heal him. Also of note, Zephyia attacked Celica, Celine a second ago, and cantered away. She cantered to the best possible location. I want her to be as far away from Alir as possible, because Alir cannot, like, fight her, so I don't want him to be in her range ever. So her cantering all the way left means that she is far away enough that Alir can now just attack Marnie and destroy this first health bar already. We were not able to kill her before, but now we have the poison damage from the knife, and also Celine is applying Draconic Hex, so we should be able to kill her the next time she attacks Celine.
Despite what the game says, Saline or
Zephyia
will never actually use Override.
Yeah, it's really weird. The game like gives you a big attack line, and it even says Override in the corner of the screen, but like she doesn't really like to use it. She just attacks you normally and lets you kill her. I wonder if she would do it if you were wielding a sword, because it would break you. But either way, she's dead.
This leaves us with only 3 bosses.
Yep.
one of which Alir is currently dying to.
So I engage here because engaging with Corrin gives you access to a skill called Dreadful Aura, which will freeze an enemy in place. It's really nice. I'm supposed to canter back one. I don't. And I end up skipping because I realize that it's going to be bad. I kill Hyacinth on enemy phase, but this leaves me in range of Veil. And Veil's engaged with Marth, so that means she can Lodestar Rush me, which she did. So I need to reverse time here and just canter one back. So that Veil is going to be 2 range away from me instead of 1 range. But if I didn't Dreadful Aura Hyacinth there, he wouldn't be frozen in place, and he would be able to like just walk up and quad hit me, which I don't think would kill. Like Lodestar Rush is gonna kill, but I don't think quad hit is gonna kill. But the implication is that I won't be able to counter attack, so that's slower.
Oh, I didn't realize Mavier was still alive.
Oh yeah, no, not anymore though. Cantering one back is also important because it allows Mavier to die in time. Slowly but surely, that Levin sword is doing some damage, but this is why I was saying that the +4 would have been helpful here if I just traded their Levin swords between each other. Because now Marnie gets healed, and like that's a lot of damage that got negated. But we got the Ike Emblem Engage back, so we can use Great Aether again. And in order to make that happen, I actually engaged like early. Like I engaged 2 turns before fighting Marnie, so that I could get this engage back as soon as possible. For those keeping track at home, that's boss number 5. Marnie's number 6. Because we are so weak as a Lear, though, this Great Aether is not quite going to kill. But it was close enough that we can just kill on player phase, even though she's got holdout from Roy.
With this victory, we have regained access to another emblem ring of ours, which is Sigurd.
Yes. Leaf as well, but he's not going to see very much use. Sigurd, on the other hand, is going to see use immediately. Once I leave here, I can remember that I can leave here. We're also about to come to what should be the final shopping trip of the run. We're going to buy all of the staffs that we still need. So there's more warp staffs in the shop. There's another rewarp and a rescue in the shop. We're going to buy all of those. I mess up a little bit because I had my cursor wrong, so I buy an Illume, and it makes me concerned that I missed one of the staffs I was supposed to get, but I didn't, even though I'll end up checking a couple more times. We're also going to buy all of the tonics that we need for the remainder of the game, and like a second seal or two. This should be the final shopping trip. I do need to buy one more thing later that I don't always need, so I don't grab it right here, but I do get it eventually. Bring that up later. But this upcoming map is a good one. We have Lyndon drafted. He's our 4th round draft pick. This is the map where we recruit him, so we're going to do that. There's also a Speedwing chest on the map. We want to get that because once again, we want every stat booster possible for our Saline. And we also need to kill the boss. It's a kill boss map. So we're going to do all of that in one turn. We're going to use that Sigurd ring that Josh mentioned earlier. Sigurd ring I mentioned before, it gives you plus movement. If you are a cavalry unit, you get 2 more movement on top of that. So, Wolf Knight, because it's a cavalry class, is going to benefit from that. I'm deploying Ivy because she is someone who can recruit Lyndon. I am going to deposit all of her items, though. Right, so we've got 1 warper and 2 warps to do. So we'll start off by warping Ivy over to Lyndon so that she can recruit him. We then have to dance for our warper. We're going to move Rosado over there because he's going to be the one to get the Speedwing. And then we're going to get into position for this Byleth dance. So all 3 of these units will now have another action, including the Dancer, who can provide another action to Rosado. And then Fram is able to warp for the 2nd time on this turn, and we can get that chest. Another banger level. I would love to have that level on Saline.
I can't help but feel like some of our units are exposed.
Well, we can fortunately reach the boss on turn 1 with the Sigurd Ring and Cavalry. And because this boss is so bad, we can just 1 round with a Levin Sword with no problem. End the turn and she'll attack first, which means we win the map. And we don't have to worry about Fran being exposed at all. Chapter 19, I lifted this strat from Dancing in the Skies, Gluix and Gina's team in the relay. I tried to do it in my solo race as well, but I actually messed it up. You can hear me say during the chapter, like, oh, I shouldn't have engaged yet. It's because I have the Corrin ring on this map, and Corrin has Dreadful Aura when she is engaged. I used Dreadful Aura to freeze Mavier in a bad spot, and he kept getting healed, and so I actually lost a lot of time on that map. But this run will do it correctly. But first I need every single tonic. Sapphire's joining here. She's that green unit on the right side of the screen here. I also have her drafted. She was drafted in round 2. She's extremely strong. That's the reason I drafted her, and that's the reason I drafted her so early. She can do things that require a lot of stats, and she can do it without going to the arena. I don't love leaving Celine in this miasma tile, especially because I have Canter and I could move her if I wanted to. But I found that when I moved her from this tile, the strat didn't work out the way that I wanted, so I left her there. Fortunately, the Lance guys all have 0 hit, so they can't break me. But this guy with a sword could do a lot of damage if he gets lucky. Now, remember that Corrin's main use, like canonically, is to clear these miasmas. So we use a Vein of Water, which produces this checkerboard pattern, which doesn't honestly really look like it would be that good for dispelling a lot of miasma tiles, but it just so happens to like line up really well with the way that they are distributed on this map. So we clear the miasma in this small area, and as it turns out, that's all we need to clear. Celine, Alir is going to block the staircase first, but then Celine is going to move out a little bit to bring the bosses over to her and start fighting them.
Both Mavier and Marnie are exceedingly annoying to deal with on this map. Marnie has holdout, courtesy of Emblem Roy, and will, at nearly every possible opportunity, try and burn you alive with Blazing Lion.
Yeah. This turn right here is, I think, the only turn that she can't do that, because when she has both her health bars, she can only do it every other turn, and she just did it. When you break her first health bar, she's allowed to do it every turn that she can legally do so on. So it's extremely important to keep her 2 away from you at all times. And that is what led to my mistake. I engaged right here because it left Marnie 2 away from me, but doing so actually froze Mavier there, and like he's in range of that guy with the physic. So I ended up losing a lot of time to him, but if you let him through, he moves first, so he will body block Marnie for you.
Mavier is also quite annoying to deal with due to his high res.
Yeah, he's extremely bulky here.
But if you try to attack him with a physical weapon, you're going to do basically no damage to Marnie.
Yeah, you sort of just have to take the 2-hit KO. What I can do here, though, is a nice torrential roar, which will hit both of them and break both of these health bars. And that's actually the end for Marnie. She's dead way earlier than usual in this clear. We've also got Seedall there, remember? So we can canter back and have him dance us to do even more damage.
Now that we have now with Marnie dead, we're free to attack with the dagger, which should...
Now,
just kill.
Believe it or not, the dagger does less damage.
Really?
He's just extremely bulky against Celine here, but yeah, the dagger does at least debuff him, so we would kill him eventually. But we just take the 2 round with the 11 sword, and we're out of there. And that not only saves time, but also saves a warp use. So that warp use save was the reason why we were able to incorporate the rewarp all the way back in Chapter 9. So after Chapter 19, we kind of reach this late game portion of the game where we have the Micaiah ring, we have the Byleth ring, and we're able to do these big group rewarp strats with specific dances that will let us kill the bosses in 1 turn on kill boss maps. Chapter 20 is going to be the first example, but we will need to use some torch strats here, which are fairly unique to this chapter. Also, we're giving Lyndon a warp because he's going to be our second warper. We need 2 warpers in this route.
Luckily, it's pretty easy to get 2 warpers, provided that you're willing to build your own in the event that you don't get Lyndon.
Yes. Any Brodian can be a warper in a pinch. Or Vander. So this map is versus Gris. Gris has 3 health bars, so you need to kill him 3 times, and he does not make it easy for you. He's hiding in the fog somewhere. Fortunately, because we know the way the game works, we know that he's always going to be close enough to reach on turn 1 with a Sigurd user. The Sigurd user is going to be Byleth instructed by Alir for additional stats, but his benchmarks are also pretty hard to reach, especially because we don't want to kill this first health bar with our carry. Sapphire is one of the few units that can do this without having to inherit momentum from Sigurd, which makes her extremely desirable for this job. Once that first health bar of Gris is down, we're going to warp our carry and our dancer in there. Our carry has to first take out this entrap user, because the way that this map works, the entrap user will move before Gris, and if he entraps you, you can't kill Gris. So we would miss our one turn. Gris, though, once you get to this point, is extremely cooperative, and he'll use Celica's Echo ability to kill himself on you twice. That's the first time. And we can see that Celine is engaged with Roy here. This is what I mentioned way back ago, back in chapter like 9 when I used the arena. Arena training with Roy gave him 1 additional strength at this point, which Celine didn't need, but there was no other way that we could have known that way back then.
So if you liked that one-turn warp strat, I hope you did, because you're going to be seeing a one-turn rewarp strat here for Chapter 21. Just like Chapter 20, 21 is a defeat boss map that requires you to take 3 health bars off of 1 enemy.
And this chapter is why we also trained Alir to level 8 with Corrin, and not just Celine. We're also distributing our forged axes right now. Chapter 21, I need to, like... the units I bring in this chapter are going to be the only units that I could use in Chapter 22, so I need to make sure I'm not forgetting anybody. So in addition to our carry, I need to bring 2 warpers, our dancer, and a Byleth dancer. And I need 2 units that are going to be my rear guard and my Hurricane Axe user in the next chapter. So that's why we have our 4 units in the middle here that are going to be actually doing everything, and then we have some other units who are just chilling. Also Fran, she's one of the ones doing things here. Here's the first rewarp. With 2 Micaiah rewarps, we can just reach the boss instantly. So now that we're here, we've got to Draconic Hex with Alir.
This will give necessary debuffs and chip damage, allowing us to consistently clear.
Yes.
Of course, this Celine doesn't need any help.
And now that we're out of units, we can use our Byleth Dance. At some point, we started preferring to use a Cavalry Byleth Dancer instead of anything else. Cavalry gives you plus 10 dex on your next attack, which is extremely nice against some of the dodgier bosses that we're going to have to be fighting in the end game here. But with Seedall and Celine now refreshed, we can just attack him 2 more times.
The plus 10 dex really doesn't matter on this boss, outside of giving us additional crit, which might potentially save a small amount of animation time.
Yeah, the other options are like plus strength from a backup unit or plus magic from a mystical unit.
Neither of which Celine needed to pick up this kill, so...
Exactly.
Might as well go for the crit.
And Chapter 22 is where we're going to finally see everything we worked towards in that arena, or in the Somniel, really. We're going to beat the second round of reinforcements in this map. We're still going to see the 2 thief reinforcements on turn 5, but we're going to skip all the reinforcements after that by completing this map in 7 turns. This map, if you haven't played this game, there are 12 emblem rings scattered across the map. we need to move Alear close to the different groups of emblem rings in order to summon the emblems with an invocation. And after we do that, we need to talk to the emblem rings with some unit. We only have 7 turns to do all this, so that means we have to have Alear running around the map. We need to have units trailing behind to pick up the rings. So the way that we do it is by deploying our Dancer as well. We don't have access to our Violet Dancer right now. We're going to deploy our Dancer as well, and we're going to use 5 warps and 3 rescues in order to pull this off in 7 turns. We're also going to class change Sapphire to General and Celine to Vidam. Vidam is great because it gives us an additional 6 to Magic, which is going to shoot us past all those benchmarks that we needed to hit. General on Sapphire is nice because she'll never get broken, and she can use the Forged Tomahawk to pick up all the kills on this side of the map over here. The Blazing Engrave took away some of the might of the Tomahawk, but as long as she can 3-hit KO the bulkier enemies, then we're okay. That just leaves the Academy Engraved Hurricane Axe. In the top left of this chapter, our strat is to leave a unit behind who we refer to as a rear guard. This rear guard needs extremely good stats in order to kill all the enemies up there. But there is this one wyvern that you can actually see on the left side of the screen right now who does not always go over to fight the rear guard. And if the rear guard is not a general, the wyvern will try to break the rear guard, which ruins all the plans. So what we found is that if we take the Hurricane Axe and put the Academy Engrave on it, the Academy Engrave gives a lot of hit with no drawback to the might of the weapon, which is very rare. The Hurricane Axe has enough might to just one-shot the wyvern as long as your unit has 2 strength or 2 magic, and indeed Bonet just one-shot even though he has like 3 personal magic. And it does it with 100 hit as long as you have the Academy Engrave on and you use like Luck and Dex tonics with most units. So that move right there completely negates that wyvern so that we don't have to worry about it. And if he decided that he was going to move towards like a Lear instead of moving towards the rear guard, we don't have to like waste time divine pulsing to try to move him the other way or whatever. But now that that's taken care of and Celine has cleared out this area here using the Bolganone, we can warp Alear and Seedall in to start taking care of this. We moved in with Alear. Alear has to be 3 spaces away from any of the emblems in order to activate all of them. This worm here has the highest magic benchmark that we care about. Celine cleared it, so she 1-rounds him. In the race that I did, she did not clear it, so I had to scramble and improvise some way to 2-round KO the 2 worms on this map in time while still beating it in 7 turns. It did work. I think it lost me time trying to like think about it. But anyway, Celine has enough magic, so she's able to 1-round every enemy on this map. Sapphire has 100% hit, and she's not worried about getting broken by these heroes, so she has nothing to worry about. The scariest enemy for the rear guard is usually that Sage that was just walking towards her. If your unit has less than 12 speed, the Sage will double you and probably just kill you. Fortunately, Sapphire hits that benchmark in general even, so she's okay. And
the combination of enemy stats on this chapter, particularly for that top left, makes the rear guard one of the most difficult positions to actually find someone who's capable of doing. Yeah.
There are lots of units that can do it if you class change them to like a Great Knight, like Kagetsu, Temera, Marin, Rosado are all examples. Sapphire is really desirable because she does all of this without ever needing to touch the arena. Any of those other units might need a lance proficiency and a forged lance to pull that off, but Saphir can just do it without that. And what we saw in the relay race, because we directly compared different teams' approaches to this chapter and like got to see the time in front of it, we saw there are other teams that just ran in with their carry and only used their carry to route everything, and they waited out all the reinforcements and didn't like plan out this complicated strategy. And it took only a little bit longer than this strategy with all the warps and stuff. But if you added on the arena grinding to that time, I think you would find that this strategy would be a little bit slower. It's because we're able to get a unit like Saphir that we're able to save time here. And there are other options, like Mavier can do it without touching the arena. I almost used the wrong warper here, but I remember at the last second that it's Linden. Celine has to get all the way down to route the bottom corner of this map on this turn, so we're going to warp her, and then rescue Seedall, and then dance for Fram, and then warp Celine again, so that she can get all the way down to the bottom left in this chapter. But as I was saying, Mavier can do this without the arena. He can do it in his base class with the Flame Lance. Linden can do this without the arena. He can utilize the a forged Bolganone and a forged Thoron to do it pretty well in Sage. So there are options, but I think Saphir is the best one. She's also able to kill Gris back in Chapter 20 without using the arena either. So that's the reason that I took her so early. And Goldmary.
Mary can also do it.
Goldmary can also do it. She does need momentum if she wants to kill Gris. That, I think, makes her a little bit worse because you cannot get momentum until Chapter 17. And I haven't visited the Somniel since then, so we would have had to add in another visit. But if she's paired with like Panette can kill Gris without using the arena, and then Goldmary can do this without using the arena. With that rescue and that Dantelir is able to reach that group of enemies, and Celine's going to go over there to clear out the final corner of the map here. Saphir cleanly 2 rounds those thieves. So if she just sits there, she's going to win. These Great Knights are a pain if you are using a physical carry. You might have to, like, when a Lear enters this room next turn, you might have to attack with 11 Sword or something in order to clear them in time.
Fortunately, we have a spare 11 sword that we could do that with.
Yep, and it's already in his inventory, too. Alir also used that Levin sword in the race I did when Celine couldn't one-round the second worm. But here he comes. He's going to activate this final group of emblems. And Celine is going to have our favorite turn, where she goes in the middle and yaps, and then kills that enemy, all by pressing A about 500 times in a row.
Nice Ignis.
Very necessary. Also conveniently for us, we had Fram in position to pick up the Micaiah ring, and she's going to be the next one that uses it, so that's a fun little optimization. But I used to warp the 4-move warper down there until Meister noticed that you can save a warp use by just walking with the unit instead of doing that. Because we can reach Sigurd's emblem right now. And then Seedall is just in range to reach that ring, dance, and we can reach the final ring here to beat the reinforcements after 7 turns. That was the most strategically demanding chapter of the entire run. But this chapter coming up is a pretty good one too. First we'll go to the Somniel though. We need to inherit some skills, but we don't need to actually do any arena fighting. So in order to save like 1 frame of walking, we're going to quick travel to the ring chamber instead of the arena. If I can click on it correctly.
We're going to be grabbing Dragonic Hex, which we prepped for on Celine much earlier.
Yep. We also got just barely enough SP. We're also going to go to Alir and upgrade his Avoid a little bit. That gives him 5 extra.
This will surely be important.
We've already got Micaiah Ring on.
This chapter involves warp and then also warp, but the other one. So, as you saw, we put Celica back on Saline. This is because we need her to warp Ragnarok, but in order to get enough distance to warp Ragnarok where she needs to get to, we have to warp her first.
Yeah. It's like in Chapter 9 when we pulled off a similar maneuver with Alir.
That's right. The only difference is this time we're not using rewarp, we're just using the normal warp.
Right. But in case you thought we're not using rewarp, we still are. So we need our 2 warpers on this map again, and Alir and Celine, and that's it. Alir is in a real scary spot this chapter. More on that later.
Yeah.
We'll start him off by engaging to Marth, who is back.
That's
Marth
right,
is nice.
For one last time.
For one last time. Marth is nice because he gives us that healing attack, remember? So we're going to engage with Micaiah over on the left here and warp Celine as far up as she can, so that we can then warp Ragnarok with Celine, equip the Excalibur Tome, and then she can just barely reach the 2 bosses from behind here. And we're going to warp Ragnarok onto Gris, because Gris has higher resistance, and thus we want to Draconic Hex him. Now we're going to rescue Fram out of there, because, again, she's very frail. If she's left over there, she's going to die. There's a lot of really threatening enemies on that side of the map that are flying in there right now. Alir is also super threatened. He's going to get attacked by like a brave sword guy and another strong guy. But Celine's combat against Zephyia is quite nice, because Excalibur 1-rounds her before she can get off an attack with her smash weapon, the George. This is going to be the final time that we use a tome. They're not preferable compared to the 11 sword because they're long animations. Then Fram's going to rewarp out of there so that these 2 are going to be safe for the rest of the chapter. We're just going to hope for Ignises against Gris, which we're not going to get yet.
Alir is, while this looked really dangerous, Alir is actually has very good odds of surviving.
Yeah.
Thanks to all of the avoid stacking that we've given him. He's got plus 40 on Liberation, thanks to the Dawn Engrave, as well as plus 15 avoid for plus 15 avoid, and Sword Avoid level 1 for 10 additional avoid, which gives us 65 avoid.
Yeah. Even with that, the Sword Masters are still getting like kind of respectable hit rates, and in the race, he did actually die here for me, which was very unfortunate, but not impossible. He is going to move 1 left on this turn. This will cause one of the sword masters to go over to like towards Fram, but he's not going to reach in time, so we're still safe over there because Celine is like killing the bosses. She gets a nice crit on Gris, killing him in 1 round instead of 2. But once she kills Zephyia, we'll be out of there, and we don't have to worry about Alir anymore. An Ignis crit does 165 damage, and we're out of there.
We also obtained the George, which is useful in some team comps, just not this one.
The George is notable for being the sword with the highest might in the game. We need a flyer for this next chapter. You want to explain why?
Sure. So this chapter's strategy is courtesy of me, so it's my fault. You can blame me. We call it the rock hop because we're going to be hopping on a rock. In order to stand on a rock, we need a flyer. This could be any flyer because Makaya's ability grants C rank staves. This is another classic double rewarp into Murder the Boss.
Yep, and this chapter is the reason why I drafted Rosado in round 5. He starts as a flyer naturally, and there's a slight advantage if you are a flyer with 6 move as opposed to a flyer with 5 move. I figured that was a good amount of value I could get out of a 5th round draft pick, and I didn't think Rosado would last too much longer on the board. That's why I picked him over Bunet and took Bunet later in round 6.
Granted, Bunet could have done this as well. He would have just needed a second seal.
Right.
This particular setup is also needs to be done in this exact way, or else things will get very strange thanks to the blizzard. So this chapter's main gimmick is that you get blown back by avalanches. Now, we won't need to interact very much with that gimmick, courtesy of us clearing the map next turn. In addition, we position this way in this manner because Alir will be attacked by a person with a smash weapon. Now, luckily we dodged, but had we not positioned Rosado there and got hit, we would have been pushed out of position, which would have caused us to have to reset the map. In addition, this is our first usage of Engage Plus. Would you care to explain Engage Plus?
Yeah, so Engage Plus is a really cool mechanic where Alir is an emblem now. Spoilers if you have not played this far in this game. The way that Alir works as an emblem is different from all the other emblems. Instead of wearing their ring during the map, Alir will go next to a unit and activate Engage Plus. The Engage Plus will last for 3 turns, just like a regular Engage, and it gives both Alir and the other unit access to an Engage attack called Dragon Blast, which is 2 powerful hits. If they are standing next to each other, they get a Bond Blast instead, which is 3 powerful hits. In addition to that, you get some other advantages, like you're effective against fell dragons, and you get access to strong weapons called the Lyration and the Dragon's Fist. As I was talking about that, we beat up the boss with a Violet Dance and 3 attacks from Alir and our carry, including the aforementioned Dragon Blasts, which one-shot the boss here. The Engage Plus is going to be extremely important for all of the remaining chapters, actually, because of those really powerful Engage attacks, and also because of the Engage weapons. Now chapter 25. If you've played this game, you know that really the main message is that all dragons are just mommies and daddies at the end of the day. This is that one shopping item that I mentioned earlier. I need Rosado to get a steel Great Lance, but he has it now. So now we are officially done with all the shopping. And to the tune of all dragons being mommies and daddies, in this map we are going to fight our mommy. And she is pretty tough to take out. So we need all these tonics. But the strategy is going to be very similar to the past, like, few maps. We're going to do the Byleth dance and the Micaiah rewarp.
Mm-hmm. We're not getting the Dragon's Fist for this?
We don't have the Dragon's Fist yet.
Okay.
The way I remember where to put people on this map is to just put the Micaiah rewarper to the right of Alir. That way you can just put everyone else around them. Alir goes to the north, your carry goes to the side there next to that wall, Dancer goes to the west, and the Byleth Dancer goes to the south.
We do it this way so that way we don't get potentially crit by the longbow sniper, who's the only enemy that could actually screw up the plan.
Yeah. But these are going to be our 2 final rewarps of the run. Thank you, rewarp. You've served us really well.
And we have one more warp staff available, correct?
We have 2, in fact. They're right there in our inventory. So our first attack against the boss here is going to be Celine, standing next to Alir, so she gets Divinely Inspiring. But she's still not going to quite be able to kill. But that's okay because she is applying Draconic Hex and doing a lot of damage. Now once Alir moves out of the way, we're going to do another Dex Dance. Dex Dance is also nice because Dex is the stat that procs Ignis. So we're going to kill this first health bar with another attack from Celine, and then Alir is going to come in with the Bond Blast. Which, with this Ignis, is going to kill in only 2 hits instead of 3, so we have to watch only 2 animations.
Now, well, you can only
I don't know what's up that with that level up screen. You can
only Bond Blast once.
Each of them,
per unit.
Yes, they can each only Bond Blast once, but
we need to open up the space so we can perform an additional Bond Blast.
And so with that warp there, we open up the space by moving Alir 1 to the side, but then Alir is still in range that Celine can Bond Blast on this turn too. And this will give us the greatest sword ever, the Willy Glands.
Which I'm sure that will gain a lot of usage in this run, right?
It will go straight to the convoy. Now is the final map, so the last bit of preps that we have to do is assigning our final emblem users and giving a couple of tonics. So for this map, we're going to face Sombron, the big bad dragon daddy, and he has 4 dreadlords that are all around him. The first 4 protagonists from the emblem rings, they're from those 4 games, so we need 4 units to wear those rings, because you can go one-shot them if you wear the corresponding ring. So Marth, Celica, Sigurd, and Leaf are all going to go onto different units here based on their different combat parameters. We also need somebody to use Micaiah, which Fram is all over that. And we need somebody to wear the Byleth ring. So this is where Boucheron comes in, and this is why I drafted Boucheron in the final round of the draft, because I needed somebody to wear that Byleth ring in this map. Also, if I had deployed Fram all the way back in Chapter 7 instead of Boucheron, he would have been at the bottom, and he would have been a lot easier to find. So that was my grievance there. Alir and Celine reach support level B just in time, and this is going to give us the very important Dragon's Fist art, which we can use while we are engaged plus. That's all the prep we need to do, so we're heading to the final battle. Another reason Bunei is a nice draft pick is because if you give him Marth's Ring, he can one-shot the guy with a steel sword that he also comes with in his inventory, which is extremely convenient. Like, anybody can do it as long as they have sword access and also, like, a steel blade, but Bunei doesn't need to worry about changing class or grabbing another weapon.
This chapter is particularly jank for many, many reasons, but chief among them is that this is a two-parter map. You gotta kill Sombron and then Sombron again in dragon form. When you go to the second phase of the map, your opening positions are not dependent on where you started in this map, but where you ended in this part of the map.
Yeah. So we have to make sure to keep everybody in the same spot and move in a very particular way and never do it any differently. So there is a chance that you would need Seadoll to dance for Celine here to clear, like, maybe clear an enemy and then kill the boss. Also a Leer with a chance of death. Shoutouts to that. This Celine is good enough to just one-shot him with an Ignis. But, and then a Leer can come in with the Dragon Blast to kill him. But even though we didn't need Seadoll, we still move him. Because, like Josh said before, if he ends the map in a different spot than usual, all of the starting positions in Part 2 are going to be messed up. But we didn't. We did the same way. So now all of our units are in the correct position, and they're all able to reach their destination, even if they have only 4 movement. Bunei uses that steel sword. He's able to just barely do it. And always remember to press the start button to skip the shield break animation. For each of these Dreadlords that we kill another of Sombron's shield. He's got 4 of them, so that's number 2. This is number 3. This one, for some reason, the guy, it breaks the shield, and then it does the XP bar. All the other ones are the opposite.
Each shield is an extra, I believe, 20% damage reduction. So...
yeah, so if we're super buff, we could do it with only with fewer shield breaks, but I went for all 4 because Celine's not always this buff.
Yeah, this one probably could do it through 3.
Yeah. But here we go. The shield's broken, so we're going to hit him with the Engage Plus, and Alir's going to start us off with an attack. This does more damage than 20, which is like what we want to see. And now Celine is gonna run in with the best weapon in the game, the Dragon Fist. And that's gonna do 28 times 4 damage. All of Sombron's health bars, which he has 4 of, have 100 HP. So this is gonna one-shot him at every stage. I do still manage to mess up because I wanted to move her over 1. So I Divine Pulse really quickly and fix that as the music picks up. But now in this position, we can use that Violet Dance from Bunei to grant Celine 2 more actions after we account for Seadoll also receiving the stance. So that's 2 health bars that she's destroyed with the Dragon Fist. Here's going to be number 3 that she'll destroy with the Dragon's Fist.
One more luck for the road.
And there's number 4. Once this is 0, it will be time. That's a 217-25 clear of Fire Emblem Engage, which I think is the fastest ever done under specifically draft race rule set. I skip through this to see like what kind of in-game time I can get. I forget what it is, but it's pretty low. Yeah, 212. So yeah, that's the run. That's the current state
Yeah.
of Fire Emblem Engage under draft racing rule set. Final thoughts. I think Celine is still really good. Like I mentioned before, I had sort of been just like waiting for someone to prove that like you can go way faster by like skipping cancer or like using a mid game carry or like cutting out a bunch of warp usage. But as of now, we haven't seen that yet. But I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility. But at this point, it's like I don't know how much faster we can get using this real strat. Because like you can do this exact strat with a lot of different units. Your chapters 4 through 10 are going to be different because you can't like use Celine in Vidam. But once you get to the post canon event in chapter 10, you can reclass to flyer and do all of this with a lot of units. Like you have a lot of options.
The hardest part is getting canter.
The hardest part is getting cancer, but we've seen that like lots of other people just play the game without cancer and like they're still able to go fast. I think like what I'm doing with it, I don't think I would be able to replicate without cancer, but it seems like somebody at some point should be able to, right? Like am I crazy here?
I mean, me and Glukes have been cooking it.
Yeah.
Glukes is convinced that canter is slower.
That's what I'm saying, right? It seems like it should be, and yet if you look at the time, it's not been eclipsed yet.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, well, maybe if you and Gluix keep cooking, then one day.
we're working on it.
Yeah, or maybe someone else will come out of nowhere, and crush it. Who knows? Yeah, but yeah, I mean, Saline good. I'm very happy whenever I get to draft Celine. You do have the constant nag in the back of your mind about like what if you don't hit the magic benchmark. But like that happened to me in a race, and it was fine. I lost by 30 seconds, but I finished. I didn't hit the magic benchmark, but it didn't stop me from completing the game with a good time.
And with Saline, if it's really bad, you could just run it down on physical.
Yeah, maybe you got a good strength stat. Like, oh, I've got 13 magic. Oops, I've got 28 strength. Let's just use that.
It's not unheard of. It's not
Yeah,
unheard of.
like we almost just did that in the relay race.
Yeah, we almost did.
She had like a ton of strength and like very middling's magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts from you? Your experience of like of going through routing this game and sort of the improvements that we've made?
No.
All right, Celine good then.
Yeah, Celine good. I mean, I guess to talk a little bit, all of my routing for this game was physical carry stuff, and this is decidedly not that, and so I don't really have a lot of comment to make on this particular run.
Well, that's the thing. Even with a physical carry, the turn by turn like placement of my units is almost exactly the same. I think one of the only differences was how I fought the bosses in chapter 16, Marnie and Mavier in the desert when we rewarped across the desert.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do it a little bit differently because of like you don't have 11 sword. You can't kill either of them at 2 range reliably. And you have to I think you have to crit Marnie with a Manikati if you don't hit that strength benchmark, which is really high. Yeah, that's a really high strength benchmark. Other than that, there's differences in the forges for sure. Like, you don't have a Holy Engraved Levin Sword. You have a Holy Engraved Javelin +4.
Yep.
We would also usually want a Fates Engraved Killer Axe.
Yep.
I did a bunch of runs with Etier though where that didn't it didn't come up.
Didn't matter because she reached the strength benchmark. But that's
Yeah,
a
but
pretty high
if you're
strength
going with
benchmark.
like Boucheron or like
Alcrid,
Alchrist, you probably still want it.
Diamant wants it.
Yeah, but these are all examples of units that can do almost this exact strat, post chapter 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like for me at this point, I've played this game with this route so much that it's become essentially like brain dead. I don't think I'll be trying to lower this time for a while, because I would just be doing the exact same thing and pretty much just hoping for like, I don't
Better
know,
RNG.
better RNG to give me like more crits, I guess. Like, where could I even save? I could have saved like a loading screen in chapter 9, I guess, by going to the Somniel when I was supposed to. But that's like so minimal that it's not really worth doing another 2-hour run just to fix that. But yeah, I mean, I'll be entering more engage races if they are run. So look forward to that. And yeah, do you have any more projects you're working on, Josh, that you'd like to plug right now?
No.
Cool. All right. Well, we've been spamming JDP, and we'll see you next time.